we are joined with a very special guest, former ESPN broadcaster and current Fox Sports and NBC Chicago broadcaster, Adam Amin. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
Doing great, boys. How are you doing?
We have a special guest in the house. We've got the man in charge, University of Louisiana Director of Athletics, Dr. Brian Maggard. Dr. Maggard, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
And we are now joined by the managing editor of D1 Baseball, Mr. Kendall Rogers.
Introducing Mr. Nick Domingue to the Rage and Review podcast. A lot of you guys may know him as the person who invented the phrase, and the answer is not Ron Guidry.
Man, I tell you what, but these candied yams with like the marshmallows in it is about the most unappealing looking gelatinous shaws that I've ever seen.
I actually kind of like I really like good cinnamon marshmallow yams.
You like the can? Are you 60? No, really?
We've got Lane Johnson here. Lane's going to be part of the Region Review crew. He's going to do a lot of background work for us. He's going to help us with our production. Lane, welcome aboard, buddy. How you doing?
Get ready. Buckle up. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot of things on the pipeline, and can't wait to share it and have a good time with you guys on it.
Yeah, prepare yourselves. It's gonna
get
be
ready.
A lot of fun.
I'm just letting every Cajun Nation know and all our listeners know. Get ready.
The Ragin' Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun. We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Ragin' Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? Yes, sir.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Welcome into the Rage and Review podcast. Although we're not really a podcast anymore. We got to work on that. Josh and I talked about this. Rage and Review Media, I think is what we'll go with. Nick, Jerry, Josh, Lane, what is up, boys? How are you all? How you all feeling tonight? I'll start with you, Josh. I know you have a little bit of a voice issue, and we can all understand why. Tell us more about it, bro.
I hadn't sat in Section A since the old Teague, so I'll be a little rough tonight, getting the voice back. But we had a good time. I think I did okay getting back in with the rowdy crowd, but it was a lot of fun playing baseball in 2 different days. It's not something you do every day.
Yeah, this is true. Jerry, you're here. I know you had a lot going on. What's up, man? How are you?
Doing fine. I got to say, Josh, I'm very proud of you. You fit right in to Section A last night. You were outdoing Cole. You were outdoing Bam. You were outdoing Chico. I think Chico was asleep by the time the game started. Yeah. That's a different story. You were outdoing everybody. So I'm proud of you. And Nick, guess what Josh did during the 7th inning stretch?
Tell me, what? Oh, did he clap?
The man clapped to center field.
That is impressive, bro.
I was like, dude, he's been converted. That's the power of Section A. No, I'm doing well, man. Look, I got to tell you, we needed a weekend like this. And in spite of the different times and the different circumstances with the weather and the time changes and all of that, it still turned out to be a 3-for-3 weekend. So it's always good to beat JMU. It was actually our first time on Friday that we ever beat JMU. So good to get the sweep, and let's hope this carries into something special moving forward.
Lane, as I awkwardly move around these windows live because this is apparently the only way we can do it. So I'll keep doing that until we get it just right. Tell us about your weekend. I know you had a bit of fun out there. Didn't get to go last night and experience the midnight special, but all in all, a good weekend, right?
Yeah, I heard last night was a lot of fun. Too bad that I missed it, but I was able to go Friday and today, so it was good to see the boys get a sweep.
Well, we're going to start at the beginning, boys. We're going to start with Friday night game where, for a little bit it felt like the two teams are kind of trying to both feel it out. But, I think the biggest takeaway from the Friday night game was that Simo did not get the win. I feel like he definitely deserved the win, but unfortunately did not get the win. But we ended up winning by a score of 8-7. Just yet again, just a great job by that was the Saturday night game. Josh, was 8-7. The Friday night game, boys, 5-2 on Friday night. I'm looking at three different things right now. But again, Simo did his job, allowed 2 runs on 5 hits. But again, just he did what Simo does. He kept the walks down, free bases down. He overpowered a lot of their hitters, got some ground ball outs. And, that's what Simo does. Unfortunately, did not get the win because we ended up, kind of doing what we do and letting him get back in the game. But Tate Hess did get the win. He's now 2-2 on the season. Top thoughts about the Friday night game, boys? I'll start with you, Josh. Overall, pleased with the effort. Not happy. You can never not be happy with the way you win a game, but you didn't feel all happy and I guess kind of giddy in the stomach after walking away from a game that you felt like you could have dominated, but you let them come back in for a little bit.
I think people are going to have different opinions on the game Friday, but remember we had that crazy wind situation going on Friday. The weather was coming through. You ended up pushing the game up, so it's a strange time, basically a matinee game. I think it was Higgs that hit a ball that probably on any other day goes out to center. You had Owen Galt smash a ball and didn't get any help from the wind. So both of those at bats would have produced runs. And then we ended up getting rewarded on a pop-up that the wind helped us on to win and to go ahead to take the lead. But still, even with that said, I think the better team won Friday. I think we were the better team. Obviously, Chase gave up the 2 runs. He walked one guy, and unfortunately, as it would be, the one guy that he walked was one of the 2 runs that he gave up. So still, you limited free bases, and that's what he does for you. That's the Chase Morgan experience. He just does his job. But, you look at 2 hits in 8 innings. We didn't do anything really special until we got into the 9th inning. Thank God we picked the 9th inning to have an inning. I'm obviously happy about that, but still 2 hits in 8 innings is not going to get it done. So it's a little bit of, we got some things done when we needed to get them done, but a lot left desired through 7. It's just and credit to JMU starter on Friday. I thought he did a good job. He kept us off balance. He hit his spots, went deep. Their starter went, I think, 7, right?
He was good. He was good.
I thought he was solid. I thought,
yeah.
And their team ERA was 5.5, and you saw that their frontline guys can pitch it. But I think, anyway, what I was trying to say is I think that the balance of talent really, the scale ended up where it should have been. We were the better team. We didn't get rewarded for some balls that we barreled up, and then we got rewarded for a pop-up. So you got to win on Fridays. Just when you got an All-American goal on Fridays, even if you play at 1, you got to win, especially at home, and we did that, and it didn't look good for 8 innings, but we found a way. Credit to Brooks Wright for being nails in the 9th inning. I think it was Brooks that had the bunt that started everything, or was that Owen Galt?
It was in the 8th. It was Brooks in the 8th with 2 outs.
Right.
Yes, correct. It was in the 8th with 2 outs. That's right, Jerry. And then we ended up having some decent at bats after that, and JMU helped us a little bit. You gotta tell the story the way it happened. And then we had some good pitching right behind that, but it didn't look good. We found a way to figure it out when it mattered, and we won on a Friday like you're supposed to. So shout out to them.
I think the thing that I liked seeing on Friday night was the fact that how often do you see us struggle with the Friday night pitcher or any pitcher really, and then all of a sudden they bring in another guy and you think you have a little bit of, okay, well, maybe this is the guy we'll get to. That never happens. It happened Friday. We got to the guy who came in behind the dude who was stifling us. And I like to see that, Jerry, the fact that we were able to kind of do what we were supposed to do against a pitcher that's coming in behind their Friday night stud. So I did like seeing that. Your thoughts on the Friday night game?
Well, up until that point when Brooks got that bunt down, I mean, that's 7 2/3 innings. We had one hit. That pitcher that started on Friday, I think his name was Jackson Logar, he pitched a hell of a game. And you add the effects of the weather. As some of you already know, I was sitting down with Ryan and you could see the ball movement behind home plate. And I mean, he had some movement to his pitches. I mean, he had really good movement and we just couldn't, we really couldn't hit it. And you add that with this crazy whirlwind that we had in the stadium, the way the wind was blowing in all different directions. 1 minute it's blowing out, next minute it's blowing in, next minute it's blowing. There's a crosswind. And so with the movement of the pitchers, we just couldn't. I mean, we could barely hit the ball out the infield up until that point. And so once he came out, I think he had walked it. I think he had walked a few guys, and I think once he came out, that's when Brooks got that bunt down, and we were able to get guys on base, and we were more patient at the plate. I thought that changed the dynamics. And of course, Connor Higgs hits a what looks like a routine fly ball, and the ball gets caught in the jet stream. And I'm literally sitting next to Christian, of course, Ryan's brother, and I'm literally cursing up a storm because I'm like, damn, we have two guys on base, routine fly ball. We're out the inning. Now we're probably in trouble. And then I see that right fielder he's sprinting to shallow right field. And I'm like, wait a second, hold on. And then the ball drops. And then we score 2 runs. And that's the beauty of that play was not just the fact that we got the 2 runs to get the go-ahead run to take the lead, but how we countered on it and how we compounded on it. And I think we got 2 more hits after that with 2 more runs. Yeah. So we didn't it's not like we got a break and found a way to get the win. We got a break and also compounded on it to where by the end of the inning, you're up, you're all of a sudden you're 2 outs. You're down a run. You can barely get the ball out the infield. Now, 1 out later, you're up 3 runs. So that was great to see. I like the fact that the guys battled back. They were very patient. Sometimes it looks sloppy, but the baseball gods can be nice to you. And I thought the baseball gods were a little nice to us in that situation. But it was good to see. And it was also good to see Tate Hess come in and close it out. I know he's had some rough outings this year. He's been kind of up and down. I was glad to see him come in and get the job done, especially in the 9th inning to close the game out. And so that was a huge win on Friday.
Yeah, I wasn't patient. I mean, we're fans. We're not supposed to be patient, right? So, no, I was happy the way that
no errors, 1 walk. No errors, 1 walk. That's how you win on a Friday night. And regardless of how it looked, and it was ugly at times, Jerry's right about that. But 1 walk, no errors. You can win on any Friday night with that kind of performance, especially when you got the All-American going.
I agree. And then we turned the page on to Saturday. Lane, you weren't at the Saturday game, but I'm sure, were you able to watch the Saturday game? I know I was able to catch it.
No, I was at work, but I was seeing all the text messages from everybody, and they were having the time of their lives, it seemed like.
Yeah, that was just in general, a wild game. I mean, we went, we went up 1-0. They come back, score 2. We scored 3. They scored 2. We scored 3. It was just a wild up and down game. And of course, the midnight special comes around where it's the night the lights went out in Louisiana. And, stuff like that happens. And so that happened. And then we got a video of from you guys inside the stadium, which I'm not going to share because, we don't want to dox anybody who may be posting on the X app. But regardless of that, it was a lot of fun. We'll start with you, Jerry. I know you were there. I definitely saw you and Josh, but Josh went first last time, so we saw you. Let's talk about a couple of things. One, love to see the fact that we got our bats going in this game. We were able to get to the Saturday pitcher. We ended up with 11 hits. Very satisfied with our offensive performance in that game. I thought we were tougher at the plate. The one thing that let me down, though, was those 4 errors. Now, 2 of them came on one play with Lee Amadei at third. which still all that stuff drives me nuts with, like, you never know where guys are going to be in the field. And I think that somewhat contributes to the fact that we have higher than normal, in our view, higher than normal fielding errors. But Jerry, just your overall thoughts on the game, the 4 errors that we had, not a good look for us, but our bats got going. And, you know, we did what we had to do to really seal the win on Saturday. You know, what'd you think?
Well, I'll start with the bad. First of all, I think, and Josh, you probably heard me scream for like a good 10 minutes about it, was the fact that when Herman threw it to third base, and maybe it's just me, but I'm never a fan of trying to pick somebody off at third base. And then on top of that, Herm's a lefty. So it's like he had to turn around and throw it to third base. And I mean, it was way off, and you gave him a free run. You know, we're trying to pick the guy off at first base. There was a man on first. We tried to pick him off, couldn't do it. But then you get that error at third base, and then the guy at first automatically goes to second. Now he's in scoring position. And you know, errors like that can turn a game around. Luckily for us, it didn't because it was early on. But those type of things, like, we got to clean that up like right now. And I know, you know, this is a team that has made some bonehead errors, but that's an error that you can correct. Just don't throw it to third base. Don't pick the guy off, you know? But outside of that, one thing I was pleased with, I'm just giving you a list here. Caleb Stelly, Connor Higgs, Jose Torres, Lee Amade, Owen Galt, Mark Collins, Maddox Mandino, Griffin Hebert. Every single one of those guys had a base hit last night, a few of which had multiple base hits. And what I liked about last night was the fact that we hit a bunch of guys home, should I say we didn't leave as many runners on base. We hit them home. And that's something we've struggled with all season long. I mean, we've left so many guys on base leading up to this point where it was kind of worrisome that, you know, especially our veteran hitters, that they couldn't get in a situation like that and be able to pull through. And they did that last night multiple times. And I think now at this part of the season where now you're in the heart of conference, that's huge. You know, it may not seem like a big deal. Yeah, you play JMU. No, they're not a Dallas Baptist or a UC Irvine, but still, you want them to start clicking now. And on top of that, you want younger guys to start doing that, including a Griffin Hebert who had 2 hits last night. You know, that was big. And so I was very pleased to see the fact that we did hit the ball. We saw the ball well. I mean, a lot of our outs were hard outs, even though we had no home runs. We really hit the ball hard last night. Pitching wise, I mean, look, you know, sometimes you get your best days like what you saw today. I don't want to speak too far ahead. And then you get what you get last night where it's just a back and forth. I was more pleased at the fact that I didn't really feel, and Josh, once you go, you can, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I didn't feel like, even though it was an 8-7 game, once we went up 7-4, that I didn't feel like the game was lost. Like, I felt like I was comfortable enough to hold on to the lead. So that was good to see. And yeah, I was just pleased with the fact that we're starting to see more guys that we've been kind of not disappointed in, but kind of curious about earlier in the year. They're starting to get hits. And I think that's huge this time of year. So last night, I think, was what we needed as far as getting the bats going. And so, you know, hopefully that builds confidence, you know, moving forward.
I mean, hell, Galt had a hell of a weekend, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that today because he did some really nice things today. But before we go, Josh, I do want to remind everyone, 866-454-RAGE if you want to call in and give your opinions on the weekend. I know RC is watching and a couple other guys, so please call in and let us know what you think. Josh, you know, but besides the midnight special, your thoughts on the Saturday game? I don't know about you. I'll disagree with you, Jerry. I didn't have as much confidence in you that we would come back, but I guess maybe, Josh, do you think it's because I'm conditioned by playing really good teams this season and not building that comeback that maybe I'm being more of a pessimist now that we're getting into, you know, teams? I'm not going to shit on JMU and say they're a bad team. I mean, they're not a ranked team that we faced the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. So, I didn't have as much confidence, but, you know, obviously glad the way it turned out and glad we got to hold on to it, because that 9th inning made me nervous, man. I got to tell you, I thought we were gonna piss it away.
Well, so many things I want to react to. First of all, Ryan, for the first time in a long time, big time me on Saturday night, and I'm still upset about it. It's very, very rare that I can't shame him into coming to meet us to hang out. So just want to tell him that I'm disappointed. I'll say that. You saw Liz there talking about Owen getting breaking a new glove. Look, I know that he had some some rough moments in the field, but listen, boys, you guys are seeing the beginning of a superstar. This kid can ball. He's a baller.
Oh yeah, I don't think anybody's arguing that, bro. Like we know that.
No, he's a baller. I think I actually made a comment last night. I think I was Lane. I don't know. You weren't there. Somebody was standing next to me and we were talking. I think it was Kevin. He's gonna have a banner under the grandstand before this thing is over. Like Owen Galt's a star. If we can hang on to him, he's gonna be an All-American type player for us. I really believe that. His confidence has grown leaps and bounds. You can just tell with his presence on the field. And one thing, and I told this to Caswell last night, when Galt makes an error, and he got a few this year, and he's a young guy. He's learning the speed of the game. The guy's I think he played shortstop in high school, and they've moved him around. He makes an error, and he has the ability to just move on. Like, we don't talk about that enough. Like, you got to have a short memory, especially when you're in a growth stage and you're in the learning stage. And he does that really well. And I just think that needs to be mentioned. And his at bats have they've gotten so much more quality. Let's sit in the bar drink room.
By the way, I don't want to cut you off, man, but somebody did mention it earlier. I do want to say the burners were in full effect this weekend, man. Those guys.
Well, I got a burner story.
Elite. We're going to talk about that after this, but I just wanted to point this one out because, River Ranch Ball, I saw, I don't want to say it, the tagger guy is here as well. So
River Ranch Ball.
We can't say tar.
Yeah.
Well, first of all,
I want to say it on here, man.
They got balls that live in River Ranch. I know they live in the outskirts, but in River Ranch they got balls out there.
Let's refocus. Sorry, Josh, I got you totally off of. But
all good.
I mean, let's talk about Saturday again. Sorry.
I also think that Mark Collins is coming around with his presence, and I know that they've liked him since the fall, but I just watching these guys develop is fun. And when you start to win and the light starts to go off, it gets even more fun. Saturday you saw some of that, but just to kind of zoom out from the game, if I can just comment on the experience, we talked about Section A and we talked about we hadn't sat there for a while. Those games that are weird where they get delayed and it's weather impacted and you don't know what to expect and you get into the stadium and maybe there's 300 people there. There probably weren't 300 people, but we just do baseball so much better than everybody else, man. I mean, we just do. The Teague has its own aura. It just does. In Baton Rouge, they have a big, nice stadium and they get 9 to 10 to 11,000 people every time they turn the lights on, but I don't care about that because when they're losing or when the lights go out or whatever, people can't wait to get out of there. Our people do the opposite. We fill up the beer lines and we get louder. And I know that there's been some moments where people were saying that broadcast that they were making comments about our chanting. And if y'all don't think we impacted that game last night, y'all didn't watch the game because number 6 had lost his mind as a Barbara television. So I just wanted to say, like, the crowd impacted the game on just a completely different level last night. And sometimes when there's fewer people in the stadium, it's more personal. It's a little bit more intimate. And nobody was saying anything inappropriate. Not many were. It wasn't us, whoever did that. But you mentioned the burners, and I haven't gone down to their part of the field because that's their domain, and I don't want to, we have certain segments of our fan base.
Guy with the young guys hanging out.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. So I got there. I went down there, and they welcomed me with open arms. It was cool. Ended up hanging out with a few of them. But when I tell you, it was hell being a JMU reliever last night, fellas. It was hell. It was hell on earth. They were relentless.
Section A? It was
Papa Squat.
Papa Squat. Dude, that was
Papa
funny as shit. I gotta tell
every time he would come down, everybody would cheer. I mean, like, there's no way that kid didn't hear that because you could hear it on the freaking radio.
Definitely heard it.
Like, there's a kid, but yeah, like so. But anyway, I'm just telling you, I know how we were at 19, 20, 21, and we gave everybody hell every time we got the chance. These dudes are doing it right, and I support them 100%. Yeah, they did heckle my wife last night. They did. She did the dinosaur race.
Hey.
I said, listen, you knew what this was.
Yeah.
She did come in last. She brought shame. She brought shame to the household.
Oh my gosh. So what's funny about that, Josh, was like we were trying to guess which costume Catherine was in. And Josh is like, did she come in last? There's no way she came in last. And he's screaming like, like you said, you brought shame to our house. You're sleeping outside. And then literally she takes the costume off and we realize it's her. He goes, "Oh, damn it. She came last. She came in last. We don't finish last in my house."
Say, nobody was more miserable last night than Caswell's wife, because every time they had the camera on Section A, she was just sitting here like this while everybody else was just going absolute ape shit. So that was kind of funny to watch. But sorry, Catherine. Sorry you didn't make it, but you did us somewhat proud by participating.
A for effort.
She said that they rigged the dyno races because they had a certain winner in mind. So it's rigged. They let people have.
Surprise me, bro.
I know they rig it. Isn't that ridiculous? So anybody who's been in the dyno races just go going in.
You know what's funny, Nick? When we worked the games, when I did the mini games, we never rigged anything. It was fair game. I don't know what's going on, man.
Bro, do you not remember the radar gun throws? I gave away free double cheeseburgers every game. It didn't matter.
Well, partially though, but that's not your fault because the scoreboard would be 10 minutes late posting up there.
It doesn't matter.
And it would be to the point. It would be to the point where it'd be like, well, I guess everybody wins free double cheeseburgers.
Why did they stop doing that, by the way?
Because I'm awesome and nobody else wants to go on the field and do it. But
I hate the fans, Lane. You know that.
I mean, he'd throw. It was always funny because I'd always tell whoever it was, and I'm saying he because it was usually a guy, but you have to pitch a certain, you have to get above 40 because 40, anything under that's not going to register. It might have been 35. I kept telling people, look, you're going to get 2 practice pitches. You're going to have adrenaline on your third one. Guess higher. And they would never listen to me. And it never failed that on the third pitch, it wouldn't register. I'd be like, yes, it's the same for for everybody. And I got to tell you, Phyllis and all the rest of those people hated me because that meant they had to stay to the end of the game to hand them out. Yeah. Otherwise, they could go home in the 8th. So there was no big deal there. But yeah, that was
those are good. Or like the John Deere tractor race when I have to get the tractors and it wouldn't move in the turf, so we have to push the kids. Anyway.
Well, Paul Plant used to he'd pull them and anyway. Sorry, Josh. Didn't mean to get off subject.
Well, no, it's good. I love those memories and just if you're worried about coming to a weather impacted game as a Cajun fan, I'm just telling you they are the most fun. Every time and I, Kevin's not here. He usually is commenting, but every time they would back the game up 1 hour, everybody at Legends would cheer. Oh, wow, we got 1 more hour at the bar. And it got more fun, and you can hear it on the broadcast. I mean, people were just having a blast, and I don't know if there were 200 people in there.
I texted BB because he was talking about how it was loud in the Teagle. Like, dude, they just knocked out a whole bottle of Makers an hour ago. So yeah, they've been drinking since 10 a.m. They're good.
If you listen to just a radio broadcast, it sounds like the place is full. That's how crazy it was.
The TV
I heard it was echoing.
It was the same thing, dude. Yeah,
it was echoing off the stands. Yeah, we could hear it coming back to us. But anyway, it was a good time. The crowd definitely impacted the game. The burners are doing the Lord's work by just wearing out these relievers, and they're the next generation of Cajun fans. And we talk about often on this show. We do a terrible job of recruiting new fans, and I'm just here to tell you, regardless of if you like the burners content or not, that's what we got. So you better embrace them. And they're doing a great job. So. Some of their tactics are a little bit gross, but it is what it is. They're 20 years old. What you gonna do? But as far as the game goes,
I was gonna say, but the players are that age too. So
and they love them.
It's kind of gross, but that's what they like going back and forth with. Now, I will say JMU handled it a lot better than the Troy a-holes because they kind of, if you give it back and forth, that's one thing. But just to continuously do it through the entire game is kind of debaggy. So. I was impressed by JMU. Just from watching on the stream, you could tell that they were some good guys.
I agree. They handled it well. And what else are you going to do? I mean,
suck.
Yeah, for sure. Their players, they didn't come back at anybody. As far as I know, maybe you guys saw something else, but as far as I could tell, they didn't really respond. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way the coach handled the team, not saying anything about Skylar. I do like him, but that Troy team just wanted to start trash. They wanted to start mess. I thought JMU had a different approach. And again, if I'm JMU invading the Teague on a Saturday night and it's midnight and a bunch of Cajuns are raining insults down on me, I'm probably not going to say anything either. I don't know if they had any options, but as far as the game goes, man, look, we got to play better defense. You can't drop pop fly. You can't drop pop flies in shallow right field. That's just I don't know if it was a lighting issue, and I know Deggs brings that crap up, but I don't know. I don't know what happened. I just know you can't drop pop flies. You can't make 4 errors. You can't throw the ball away at third base. So many things that you just cannot do to win ball games. And I agree with Jerry. When we were up 7-4, I don't think anybody in the stadium thought we were in danger of losing it, even when we started walking people late in the innings. But we did enough offensively. It wasn't like we were some juggernaut on Saturday night. I know we scored 8 runs, but it's just like we got hits with 2 outs. We got hits with 2 outs and runs in score position. We haven't seen that very often. That was great to see. Jose Torres just continues to be clutch. He had a couple of very nice hits or very nice at-bats that led to RBI producing hits. And other guys, like I said, Mark Collins had a couple of nice at-bats, and we saw Drew Markle make his return defensively on Saturday. And I just think or that was Friday, actually. I just think that the roster has matured in a lot of ways, and I thought some of that maturity showed on Saturday, where they had every reason to lose focus, even after they made some crucial mistakes late in the game, and they found a way to battle. And shout out to Taylor, who had a strong finish there. There's some promising things going on throughout the entire lineup, and we're getting healthier, and we're older. These guys are not freshmen anymore. Owen Galt's not a freshman anymore. Brooks Wright is not a freshman anymore. I'd say Mark Collins is kind of a vet now too. He's seen the lineup. I mean, he's an everyday guy now. We might be pretty dangerous by the time the conference tournament rolls around. And look, so I know we're going to talk about Sunday here in a second, but I think we're in second place or third place in the league, 6-3.
We're tied for second. Could possibly be a tie for first.
What the hell, bro?
7-7 USM and South L are tied.
Come on.
Wow. So we're there. I mean, we're right there.
Yeah. Let me comment on that point, Josh, about you talked about towards the end with the pitching. Look, it's so good to see guys like Will Taylor come in and be able to close that game out. And in the circumstance that he did it, right? He came in, he struck out a batter, and then he gave up a hit or two, gave up a run, but he never panicked. And I think when you got younger pitchers like that have come in, and we still have a bullpen that's really, really developing right now as we speak and trying to figure out where they belong. But I was very pleased with Will's performance last night because of the fact that not only did he close it out, he responded. Even though giving up a run, giving up a base hit, he responded and still struck that last batter out. I was glad to see that. I think we need more of that in the next week or two, seeing what kind of guys can come in from the bullpen and step up and make some good performances, because we're going to need it. I thought, I don't know about you guys, but Andrew Herman, he's been pitching well in the bullpen. Well, how do y'all like the fact that he's starting? What do y'all think about that? I love Herm. I do. But I just feel like last night he gave up 4 runs, gave up a few hits. Now, granted, one of them came from an error, and then you had another one that followed it. If we were out, we would have been out the inning. But I thought he performs better coming out of the bullpen just because of his velocity and just different speeds. Like, what do you guys think about him being a starter as opposed to a middle reliever?
Before you go, Josh, I think my concern is more with Hammer, because I did not like what I saw out of him last night. So I'm not as concerned out of Herman, and I think he needs some rest, bro. I get that he doesn't throw hard. He doesn't have a whole lot of stress pitches, but we continue to put this guy in situations where, I mean, he was pitching Tuesday and now he's pitching on Saturday. I feel like the dude needs a little bit of rest, even though he's not throwing stress pitches. So I don't know. I mean, my concern is a little more with Hammer, and I need to see a little more out of him. Not bashing the guy, so I don't want anybody to take that out of context. But Josh, do you agree with me? Like, I mean, I'm all right with what he gave me, but I also agree with you, Jerry, is that we're again trying to convert a bullpen guy to a starter, and that always has us growing pains. But with the injuries we've had in our pitching staff, I don't know what else you can do. Josh, your thoughts?
I think Hammer has fine stuff. I don't think it's anything. How do I want to say this? I don't think it's anything.
It's more mental than it is physical. Like, I think he's got the stuff.
Well, if you watched his outing at LSU, and I know a lot of people probably turned the TV off by now, but when we went to Baton Rouge, his fastball did miss a few times, but man, that splitter was right where it needed to be. Ball started at the bottom of the strike zone and fell out of the zone at the plate. And he hit that pitch over and over and over. And it was when they wanted to go high and inside, he couldn't hit it. And when they want to go, low and away, they wanted to try to get to the black, he couldn't do it. And I think that he is, I don't know if he's getting frustrated and trying to overthrow the fastball, but he's missing a lot with the fastball. I don't know what his perfect role is. I don't like him as a starter. I never thought he was a starter. He's too much of a high effort guy. But going back to Jerry's point about Herm, Kent says Hammer's a starter. He told Deggs as much. I mean, that's kind of like part of the deal. We can't let the players dictate what they are. I tell this to my girls, my soccer team. I'm going to put you in a position to help the team as a whole. I know you, striker, think you were a great goalkeeper, but the fact of the matter is that you got Butterfinger hands, and you're much better and much more valuable to us scoring goals, and that's where I'm going to put you. And I think Deggs needs to kind of embrace that again. He used to be that way. I don't know what the hell's going on. He became this player coach all of a sudden. But I think that Hammer has good stuff. I think he's a 6-out guy. How many times have I come on the show and said that he's a 6-out guy? I think Herm is a change of pace guy. I don't think that Herman is your prototypical Saturday arm. I just don't. Not that he doesn't have the stuff. It's not that I don't think he's a good pitcher. It's not that I don't think that. I mean, I think he has the best changeup on the team. Well, maybe outside of SEMA, but I think that his late movement really is. It's exponentially better after he comes in after a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. I think that the results speak for themselves. I mean, we have enough data to tell us that Herm comes in with a change of pace guy, and is way more effective. As far as reliability out of the pen, we just got to find somebody. J.R. Tillett is no longer a bullpen arm. That ship has sailed. We need him in the rotation. I think that Tate Hess is probably our most reliable guy, and he was good this weekend, but he's still got to be more consistent. I think that Herman is your – and keep in mind, guys, we lost Toy. You know, he'll be back at some point, hopefully, but – that was one of the guys that we're going to rely on, and that's a big part of it. We're trying to get some of these young guys up to speed. But Nick, to circle back to your question, man, I like Herman. I like Hammer as a 6-out guy. I think he's a late inning guy, maybe even a middle inning guy, but I just don't see him as a starter. I just don't. Too much of a high effort guy. You can't throw 90 pitches in 3 innings, and that's typically that's what he's doing on pace as far.
I agree.
Before y'all go to today's game, what was the atmosphere like when the lights just shut off? I know it was crazy beforehand.
You beat me to it, bro. You beat me to it, man. Good job. I'll start with you.
Can I talk about this Herm comment right here?
Yeah,
Herm was our Friday guy last year. Listen, if you go back and look at when Herm got inserted as the Friday guy, all right, just look at the opponents and look at. We had a completely different team. This was a completely different team last year, and where he was inserted in the schedule as the Friday guy, I'm not going to say it was bad teams. I'm not going to say he was pitching against bad teams, but it was not the caliber of the DBUs and the Irvines and I mean Nebraska's not a good team, but it wasn't that. It's not that. And last year, Herm could give up 3 runs in a start and we'd be okay. I don't know if we have the same luxury this year. I've noticed that Herm struggles on the road and usually shines at home. That's actually a good point. He's a different guy. Yeah. He's a different guy on the road. And we really didn't talk about their splits this year, but there's a few guys like that, especially the younger guys. They typically pitch better at home. I don't know. Get a little bit more adrenalized. I'm not sure, but that's a good point about Herm.
What about Blake McGehee, by the way, before we go to midnight? What do you think about his performance this weekend? Because I know, we kind of look at Blake and he goes up and down, up and down. Your thoughts on what you saw out of Blake this weekend?
I thought he was fine. I think that Blake is a Tuesday, Wednesday guy. I like him starting on a Tuesday, Wednesday. He gave you some quality innings this weekend. He made some mistakes. I mean, it's the Blake McGehee experience. This is what we're doing here. But I'll throw it back to you. Do you trust him to come out on a Sunday?
I would rather see him, like you said, midweek. I want to see him in Game 4 of the conference tournament. If you're asking me honestly, that's where I want. That's why. And I think he would be good in Game 4 of a conference tournament.
I think so too. If I'm coming out of the losers bracket and I'm pitching and I'm facing somebody else's 5th or 6th option, I like Blake.
1000%.
I don't like Blake against a number 2.
Yeah, Jerry.
Remember whenever we played Mississippi State Game 7 in 2014 and we pitched Ryan Wilson? That's kind of where I see Blake McGehee. I think, like for example, this week we have Northwestern State on Tuesday, and then we got Louisiana Tech on Wednesday. I'd pitch Blake against Louisiana Tech. I think that would be a perfect game for him.
Totally agree.
A good team that you're playing against midweek, and actually it's a crucial game against a good team. It helps you with your RPI.
I would bet any amount of money J.R. Tillett starts against
because
Tech.
that's the way we're coaching this year.
And the thing
so
is,
I agree
why?
with you.
And no, look, it's not. It would not surprise me, but why?
He's
Like you've
from
got.
there. He's from there, okay, and then it's a big RPI game, right? If we're still trying to do that rat race, it's an RPI game, but that's Dick, man. And then he'll start on Sunday, and then he'll start on Sunday.
Was it not Herman who started against LSU? This
LSU,
week?
yeah. It was.
And now he's back, pitching on Saturday. Like,
you see, I think the perfect opportunity for Blake would be Louisiana Tech on Wednesday. Perfect. I mean, it would. To me, that is because he only got.
It's a 5-game week, so
he got like one inning last
I'm
night.
okay with seeing him against Louisiana.
Yeah,
like
on a Wednesday night,
midweek. I'm good with whatever they are trying to do on midweek, but we got to solidify is Tillett, and we'll get to Tillett today because that's why I named this the Marbles segment. We'll talk about why in a second, but that's the whole thing. Like, okay, is Tillett what he showed us today? He could be a Saturday guy. So then who's our Sunday guy? You know, things are still in flux and we're more than halfway through the season. That's what concerns me the most is that we still don't have 1, 2, and 3 on the weekend. Because if I'm Dags, I want Tillett on Saturday, but then again, let's think about we got SEMA on Friday. If we drop Saturday, you got Tillett on Sunday. I don't know, man.
Well, do we keep Herman on Saturday? That's the question because Herman started last night.
But we just said Herman would be better midweek. So then who do we start on Saturday?
Hammer. They probably move Hammer back in there.
Right. And I don't like Hammer as a starter. I prefer him in relief. So that's here we go again, man. You know,
I think with to Josh's point about the 6 outs with Hammer, I think the thing about Hammer is that the problem that you have when you start Hammer is you can't really expect him to go more than 4 or 5 innings at most.
Right.
Yeah, like you're going to have somebody ready.
Yeah.
Right. Which is fine, but you have to make sure you have a bullpen ready.
Piecing it together, right?
No,
because it's going to bite us in the ass eventually.
I agree.
I think, and he's not there yet. And don't crush me for saying this. He's not there yet. I understand that. I think Will Taylor is a great midweek option.
I do.
I really do.
Yep.
I think he probably needs a little bit more seasoning under him, but I'm telling you, I think I love his delivery. It's effortless. He has a great presence on the mound. I like him a lot. Keep in mind though, Toit and Rosario both out, both really good early on. I think Toit gives you so many options. He can start. He can go long relief. He can get you 6. We have a lot of movement based on like 2 arms, and Simo's probably just now starting to get back. Herm, what do you do? He gives you a lot of options. I think, what do you say? I'm living. I actually agree with that. I actually agree with even Tillett Sunday. I think that one thing we've done too much with the staff is when somebody starts to prove themselves, we try to move them. How about Simo is on the front end and J.R. Tillett's on Sunday and we figure it out on Saturday rather than we move him to Saturday and then we're trying to figure it out on Sunday. I like that. I think that J.R. Tillett has a home on Sundays. There's something about him. He looks comfortable. And we've been on J.R. Tillett since the beginning of the season. And again, his ERA, I think now is like below 3. But he is like not – you mentioned Scoob. He reminds me of Scoob. Scoob just battled. He didn't have great stuff. He wasn't the biggest guy. He just got on the mound and battled you. Now he was a shit-inning guy, and he was a two-way guy. But J.R. Tillett does a lot of the same things. He has the same – kind of like that junkyard dog attitude. And I love that. But I love him on Sunday.
Evan Guillory was like that back in the day under Robe in like 2015, 2016. You knew in that weekend rotation, you'd have Gunnar Friday. Usually the Saturday guy rotated every once in a while, but Sunday you knew Evan was going, especially like around 2015, 2016. And sometimes they kind of move him into the midweek. And I think to Cole's point, I think you kind of need that anchor on Sunday, right? Especially if it's a rubber match. And if we saw today, that can be huge, you know.
All right, a good point from Chris Dumatray. Yeah,
thank you.
And you didn't see Osteen.
Dumatray, but you said Dumatray, whatever. He needs to correct me on that, by the way. But go ahead.
I was saying you didn't see Osteen this weekend, and I thought that maybe you could have seen him. So maybe they're setting him up for Tuesday.
Hey, 6 flags over Jesus would be great on a Sunday. It would make sense, man. I'm just saying.
He and grab.
An Osteen on a Sunday would be it.
We gotta get those memes ready. That's too easy.
Think of
it's
the
too
memes
easy.
we have
Righteous gemstone memes would be
man.
just
By
so
the way,
easy.
we're so off topic. Lane asked a different question like 20 minutes ago, but I do want to go and just say, Josh, like righteous gemstones, holy cow. I'm just getting to the beginning of season 3, so I'm still trying to catch up, but man, that's some good shows.
It's good.
It's
too good.
shows.
Keith's asking about Toit's injury, rolled ankle. Well, it said rolled ankle, maybe even worse, but I think it was an extended period, and maybe it was 6 weeks at the time, maybe. So what are we, 2 weeks into this thing? I don't think you're going to see him anytime soon. Is basically what we've been told.
No, I mean he might
hopefully
be good,
for the tournament.
I was gonna say maybe a good arm to bring in the tournament, but man, that just goes to show you when we're talking about bullpen and starters and all this stuff. This is basically our story of our season every single year. Just a reminder, 866-454-RAGE 7243. I know my mama's watching. I would love to hear from Thelma and Scott call in, but that would be actually kind of funny. But before we get to that, boys, he did ask a question, and I say he, I'm talking about our boy Lane, asked about the midnight special, what it was like when the lights went out, what the atmosphere is like. I know you guys all sent me some crazy videos that I can't play here because, language purposes, and we don't want to dox anyone. But Josh, your thoughts? I mean, it looked like you guys were having a lot of fun. I saw you guys using the phone with the light and all that good stuff. But that goes back to you talking about it being almost like a bonding experience, because the most vivid memory of my high school football, I was a band nerd, but regardless, high school football memories was homecoming my freshman year when it rained so much they canceled everything, so the band got to go home, but it was flooding and it was raining, and that was the most fun that we ever had because you felt like you were almost like a family that night. Talk to me about when the lights went out. Was it kind of that same vibe and atmosphere?
No, 100%. And kind of this comment, but I haven't talked to some of these guys in years. Like, I'll give you an example. A good friend of mine growing up had kids way back when, and we'd go hang out with them and we'd play with their kids. Well, unbeknownst to me, one of those kids grew up to be a Section 8 member. And we're out there having a good time chopping it up. And,
we're getting so old, man. I mean,
it's true.
Oh my God.
He's part of it. And so we started talking about their family and everything. And it just reminded me, like, I haven't been down here in so long, but it's true. It forges you together. Only true diehard fans stay through that. And that's kind of how it always is. And even at Legends, I had a chance. Some of the player parents were out there. Josh on that straight talk Wi-Fi.
Yeah, your
Dude,
Wi-Fi is all jacked up, bro. You may need to control alt delete. Unplug
it's been good.
Your router.
I'm current on my bill. I swear to God, I'm current on my bill. But
yeah, well.
we even at Legends, we had conversations with some of the player parents, and even they were making comments about how great it was to be part of a school and a fan base that cares so much about college baseball. It was on full display. Just hanging out in the dark.
But what's funny is the shitty attendance you had over the weekend because of everything going on was still outdrew what JMU gives on a typical weekend. Oh, and by the way, they don't charge for you to go in the game. So we're outdrawing JMU on a weeknight where it's rained all day and you're, that's what's great. And I think we take that for granted. Jerry, your thoughts about the midnight game? I mean, I again saw you guys talking shit to the starting pitcher or the relief pitcher, so that was a lot of fun. You were even getting into it. But your thoughts about how that felt on Saturday night.
There's something unique about it, like Josh mentioned, I guess in the circumstances that we had this past weekend, again, with the time changes and just the late start last night with the crazy weather and everything, like, if you were there at 8:30 p.m. and you were there till midnight, it's because you wanted to be there. It wasn't because you were forced to be there or you have to pay your tickets and you have to sit down all stiff. You were there because you wanted to be. And I think that it really showed in the crowd. And the beauty of it was, I credit the ticket team and everybody at UL last night. Everything was basically all access. I mean, you can go in the club. There was nobody checking for wristbands. You can walk in the stadium. It was basically free admission. And it was just, you can just go around, and we were just walking. I don't know about you, Josh, but I was going around all over the stadium saying hi to people and just, enjoying the atmosphere. And I think, when the lights went out, It was funny because the lights went out right at midnight, by the way. That's what happened. So like right when the clock struck midnight, I guess the lights are on a timer or something. It went out. And so you see all the players kind of.
Why did that take so long, by the way? I need to give Babs some shit because, look, you know it. Well, no, I don't know if you know it, but when I was there, like they were so proud of their new lights and they would play with them before the game on and off. And like, why is it taking 20 minutes to get some lights on, bro?
I thought it was crazy because, it was, and then of course, right when Will's about to throw a pitch on a strike 2 count, by the way, and it was like a perfect fastball down the middle. And right when the lights go out, I think more people were upset with the fact that the umpire didn't call it as the lights went out.
Which, by the way, he told one of our players' parents, yeah, there was right down the middle. It was a strike, but I couldn't call it. Like he literally said that.
It was a perfect pitch.
What are you gonna do?
So I think more people were upset about that. And then after a while, everybody just kind of took it all in. You saw people flashing their lights on their phone and everything like that. And, Section A was having a party and it was just, again, even though it was late and it was midnight, you were there because you wanted to be. And that's, to Josh's point, that's what's special about our baseball program. Since we were kids going to the games, like you were there because you wanted to be, and there's a special feel to it. And last night, even though the crowd wasn't the best, you felt it. You definitely you felt it. And yes, I'm glad Cole brought that up.
It's so hard to move on from Saturday night, but we cannot do it because Cole brings this up. Why are we giving away great value buns when Evangeline Made is our sponsor? And I'm sure I'm going to get a text after this saying, why didn't you text me to ask me that question? Why are you doing this stupid shit? Like, that's my question.
No. See, no, we shouldn't be. No. That's your job to give us Evangeline Made bread if it's called the Evangeline Made bread giveaway. You're not going to give a Coca-Cola giveaway and hand out Pepsi or Dr. Thunder.
Well, we might.
Yeah, there was a certain incident that happened with the bread last night. Don't want to get too much details on that, but yeah, let's just say they were putting that great value bread to use. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on from Saturday because I think we're done with Saturday. Moving on to today. Look, it was a close game, but we did what we had to do to pull it out. What can you say about J.R. Tillett? And look, let me go ahead and let me find the video. Of course, J.R. Tillett went 9 innings. I think he had 11 strikeouts in the game, which was absolutely incredible. You love to see that from your starter, obviously. But hold on. Let me just bear with me 1 second. I got to get the share screen. The reason I named this Marbles is because for a lot of the season, this is how we felt about our baseball team.
What is this? ¿Qué es eso?
Buddha, samurai, okay. Peaceful inside. Outside, warrior. ブッダのような気迫を見せてみろ。
I love you, Max. I love you too much.
You know, you have no marbles.
Marbles?
Marbles. You have no marbles.
You know who has marbles, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, relax.
J.R. Tillett. He has marbles, boys and girls. Josh, is there any better way to explain J.R. Tillett's performance today? 3-0 win. Great job by the starting pitcher today.
Complete game shut piece. When's the last time we had one of those?
Been a while, bro.
2021.
Yeah.
2021. Look, dude, complete game shut piece on a Sunday is even more impressive than just a regular. I mean, look, you got to hit to win on Sundays. Everybody knows that. Go out there and throw. What did he give up? 8 hits? Oh, no, 4 hits, I think it was.
4 hits.
No runs.
No walks.
No runs, 4 hits.
I don't know.
Fact
walk,
checker
11
Lane
Ks.
coming in handy, baby. There you go.
Hell yeah. So, look, I mean, I've been on J.R. Tillett since the beginning of the year. I liked him last year. I just thought he needed some innings, and he's coming to fruition. He was very good today. Pitched low in the zone, hit his spots, kept the ball down in crucial counts. What do you say? I mean, golly, That was good. That was a good performance, and the fact that he was able to hold the bullpen from having to come out on a 5-game week, because we got to play again in 48 hours. We're going to be back on the field, and you've got to. It really helps to set up the pitching rotation. So can't overstate how important that outing was today from J.R. Tillett.
Caleb Stelly with an early homer in the game, which continues our streak. He and Higgs both with solo homers. How many solo homers do we have this season? It's got to be an NCAA record. There's no way anybody has hit more solo homers in a season than us, and we're only halfway through. And then
until that Sunday game against Troy, I want to say we had 15 in a row. They were just solo home runs.
Yeah, until Higgy came through for us. So, and then of course Artigs drove in Galt later in the games, or in the fourth inning. So 3-0. I'm not going to complain about anything today. I think again, Jesus, 20 solo home runs. There's no way, guys. I mean, we're on pace to hit 40 solo home runs this season. That is insane. I don't think I've ever seen that before, Jerry. Your thoughts on Sunday game again? We all know the story of the game was our starting pitching. Did a great job. Went complete game. J.R. Tillett, he's got marbles.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I thought, this was the type of game where, you don't expect it going in, but you feel confident that he's going to put on a good performance. And I mean, he went the full 9. So that was huge. I also thought that, we made only 1 error on today compared to 4 last night. That's a huge improvement. But also, too, I thought if you look at our hitters, the veteran guys are stepping up. I think you've seen the veteran guys step up all weekend. I mean, one of the guys I'm going to give a shout out to, because I knew we always saw potential in him over the last 2 or 3 years, is Caleb Stelly. He's tearing the ball right now. I mean, he's hard line drives, home runs, and he's even his outs are hard outs. Like, he's finding ways to put the bat to ball. I was looking up a stat just now. Since South Alabama in the last 7 games, he's batting somewhere like 320 or something like that. I mean, we haven't seen that in 3 years. And not only is he doing that, he's getting a lot of he's getting a lot of those hits with runners in scoring position. So that's huge. Jose Torres Jose's starting to step up. I know he was off to a slow start. He's hitting the ball now. Connor Higgs, I mean, hell, the way he's hitting the ball, he might become an All-American with his bat, the way he's swinging.
Quietly putting together an incredible season.
It's unbelievable.
Higgs might get drafted at this point. Yeah.
And then let's not forget about Lee Amadei. Lee Amadei struggled a little bit to start the year. He's tearing the ball up. Even his flyouts are hard out. So, the veteran guys are stepping up. And of course, you can't forget even the freshmen. Josh, you mentioned how they're technically not freshmen anymore, but by classification they are. And you look at an Owen Galt, he's batting over 300 as a true freshman. You've got Griffin Hebert, got 2 hits last night. He's batting well. You've got Mark Collins. He got a few hits. I mean, it's just so cool to see these younger guys step up, but it's good to finally see the veteran guys. The veteran guys are the ones that are getting the base hits, the home runs. We've been waiting for it for the last month and a half, and it's good to finally see it come to fruition, and it's coming at the right time. I just wish Donkey was healthy right now, because that would have been a great addition, a compound on the veteran bats. But it's good to see it all coming together. Again, I know we've talked about J.R. Tillett enough. I mean, what more can you say? I think like you said, Lane, 2021, I think it was Connor Cook, and we all see where he is now. So great performance by J.R. Again, I think like some of the other guys said, I mean, I think he solidified his Sunday spot. I mean, if he can pitch like this, not to say I expect him to go full 9 every Sunday, but give us a good 5 or 6 innings. I'm good. I'm good with that.
Look, here's my question, Lane, and I'll go around the horn after I ask you. Is this fool's gold? Because let's not forget, against an LSU team, now I'm not going to give an excuse that they're top 8, top 5, whatever. We should never, ever get blown out by LSU. But a few days after that, we go and sweep JMU, who is, let's be honest, they're not that great, but they're a decent team. They could have beat us at any point this weekend. Is this fool's goal? Are we getting excited about a sweep and then going to shit the bed the rest of the season? Like, that's why I'm cautiously optimistic. Like, we did what we needed to do against a team we should have done it against, and we lost in midweek against a team we probably should have lost against. not by the score. But at the end of the season, we're not looking at the score. We're looking at wins and losses. Your thoughts? Is this fool's gold, or do you think we're on our way to kind of figuring it out this point of the season?
No, I really think Tuesday's game kind of lit a fire under the guys. I mean, they were probably embarrassed. The fan base was embarrassed. You don't want to.
You were embarrassed by your stupid post, 1-0 in the first, but we're not going to talk about that, right?
But no, I know they didn't want to lose that way, and it kind of probably made them want to perform better, and they probably went harder in practice this week. And yes, our schedule lightens up a little bit until we hit Southern Miss, but you beat a team that you needed to beat and that you should beat, and that's what they did this weekend. We'll see with the 5-game midweek if that continues, and I hope it does, but we'll see.
Josh, I'll go to you, then Jerry. Then we have a caller on the line. What are your thoughts, Josh? Do you think this is fool's gold, or you think we're on the path up?
I look at this team as a different team every week. We've dealt with injuries. We've dealt with youth. We've dealt with a schedule that's in the top 10 as far as strength of schedule goes. I am not one of those people that look at the schedule and say things like the schedule lightens up, because this is baseball. And baseball is a game of matchups. Baseball is a game that can get out of hand in any particular inning or game. I'm certainly not going to sit here and say these teams that we're playing are not as skilled as an LSU or an Irvine, who's turned out to be probably a top 15 team before this thing is over with. We are definitely playing less skilled teams here in the next couple weeks, but baseball is still baseball, and you can lose anyway on any day against anybody. So what I tend to try to focus on is we are getting better, mostly because we're maturing. The most talented players on this baseball team are kids. And every single time out, they learn something. They get better. They get more comfortable. They learn some sort of a lesson on the diamond that's going to help us later in the year and next year and hopefully beyond that. So I don't look at it as Tuesday 17-4 was an ass whipping and we got blown out and makes us so bad. I think we're the same team we'd have lost 5-3 rather than if we lost 7-4 against LSU. I think that if JMU found a way to beat us Saturday, we're still the same team winning the series rather than sweeping it. I guess I'm struggling to try to find a way to say I don't have a set idea of how good this team is. I think every time out, they're a different team, especially with this coach who decides to play a Russian roulette with the lineup every day. But that's a whole other conversation. I think that you're going to continue to see different teams go out and take the field every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Our goal should be, how good can we be going into the tournament? Because I don't think we have a chance for an at-large. I mean, that ship has sailed. I don't think we need to try to get hot and mortgage our future to try to make the tournament in any other way than planning to go to Montgomery and come out a winner. And as long as we're doing that, and as long as we can see morsels of a Will Taylor developing into a Saturday guy or a midweek starter, or an Owen Galt turning into your corner guy at third, or we're working Drew back into the lineup even though he's injured. We're working things out. As long as these guys continue to progress every time out, that's what I'm looking for. And that's the only way I'm going to judge the team.
It's so funny, Josh, before we go to you, Jerry, and then our caller. What's so funny is that you said that about gambling with our lineup, and it's been 5 years under Deggs, and actually I got to credit Dan McDonald because he came out on the stream today after we had the stupid attempted steal and got caught stealing, which we had no business doing, just up 1-0. But I digress. He said, Deggs is the gambler. He would hit on 19 every time if he could. That is so true, Jerry. Like that is what he does. And we get so frustrated, but I don't know why we're frustrated, because we know it's coming. Like he's going to take a chance. He's going to do it when you hate it the most. He's going to get guys thrown out. He's going to bunt the first batter up in an inning's going to bunt for an out at first. It's frustrating, but I appreciate Dan at least coming out and saying it, because that's how we've all felt these 5 years. And for better or worse, that's what we have to expect. Whether we like it or not, you know that's what Diggs is going to do, Jerry.
Well, it's taboo. It's taboo because it's something that's not traditional and something we're used to, especially when we had something different with Tony Robichaux for almost 30 years. But also, too, I mean, with Diggs, some of the chances he takes, it's all or nothing. There's no in between. Like today, I was the one that texted you guys in the group text. You got Connor Higgs stealing at third base. You got was it Lee Amadei
up 1-0, and dude,
yeah, I think it was.
Why?
I think it was Lee Amadei up at bat, and it was 1 out. Connor's at second. We're up 1-0. He steals third, gets out, and then the very next pitch, he gets a base hit. That's a run.
It was
so I'm like, why? Why? Because you see, it's like in a football game. You go for it on fourth down in the first quarter instead of kicking a field goal. It's 4th and goal, and you get no points, and then usually the team that does that ends up losing. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
That is just who he is. This is I don't know why we get mad, because this is what it is. And Dan said it today. If Dan's saying it, then we're not crazy. We're seeing
because
it too.
sometimes you just want to take the easy points. It's like
you're hitting on 19 and it makes no goddamn sense. Like,
don't hit on 19. True. No, it's true, and it is so true. And I think, again, that's just the philosophy. And so as fans, it's hard to imagine it, because again, today that's a run, right? If Connor doesn't steal, if Higgy doesn't steal, that's a run. And so yeah, and my mindset is, oh God, this is going to come back to haunt us later on. Thank God for J.R. Tillett and his performance, but yeah, and in other situations, it has come back to bite us in the ass, and we've lost games because of it. So yeah, it's just, I've accepted it, even though I'm the one screaming why in the group text. I mean, I've accepted it. But to answer your question, is this fool's gold? Look, it's like I told you guys earlier. I think, look, you've got a 5-game week coming up, all at the Teague. You've got Northwestern State Tuesday. You've got Tech on Wednesday. You've got Texas State, who we actually have, I think, an 11-game win streak on right now or something like that, coming to the Teague next week. Big, crucial weekend series, and they're a damn good baseball team. Look, give me a 4-1 week, and then I can tell you whether or not we can make a run. I think this weekend was great because it showed you what we're capable of, but I need to see more consistency. I mean, look, I called in the other day when you guys did the episode, and I said, like to Josh's point, the schedule eases up, and you guys were like, well, where are we going to get those how are we going to go 19-11? Now, granted, this is coming off the LSU loss, but that was my point, and I think, again, in order for that to come true, you've got a big 5-game week coming up. You have to win at least 4 games this week to show that. I think if you can go and win the game against Northwestern State, find a way to beat Louisiana Tech, and have a good showing and a good weekend series against Texas State, then yeah, I'd say so. But with our luck, and we joke about it, but who knows what may happen against Northwestern State? I think
we go 2-3 this week, if we're being honest.
Maybe so. You may be right, but Nick. Maybe
it depends. It depends on what you mean by fool's gold. Like, what is I don't want to divert way too far off topic.
No.
What do you mean that we are an at-large team that can compete in the top 64 tournament?
Yes, that is correct. Are we fool's gold and tricking ourselves to begin to believe that?
We're not there yet. I don't think
we're not there yet.
We got a ways to go.
I agree. I agree.
Now,
let's go to the phone lines. But before you go, Josh, let's go to the phone. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we're still building there. It's not like we can't fix these easily fixable things. We have the talent to do so.
Well, you need to check your Cricket Wireless. All right, let's go to the phone lines. What are your thoughts? Is this fool's gold? And, your thoughts on the weekend. What's going on?
Straight talk wireless, Josh. That's my excuse.
Poor Josh. He's trying, man.
He must have got Jerry's old router.
Well, that's actually probably correct. Actually,
that is, maybe so. Mine works now.
What's up, RC?
Well, first things first, I don't want to hear shit about me not showing up last night. If I had a damn nickel for every time Josh stood us up, then I'd be a freaking millionaire. So
I knew it was coming.
We get that out of the way real quick. I did have a legitimate excuse. Listeners don't want to hear about it, but it was good to see y'all on TV having fun, except for Mrs. Caswell. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, she was not having it, RC. She was not having anything. I don't know how Caswell hangs on to her, but that's a whole different topic.
Going from football season tailgating into baseball season, I don't know why she likes any of us at all. Period. To be honest.
True story.
But no, as far as the games go, Friday was weird. 1 o'clock start. Had a pretty long day, but glad we were able to pull it out. Like I said, I debated all day yesterday about going to the game last night, but thought better of it. Stayed home and got to watch y'all on TV, but made it back out there today, and it's always good to get a sweep. It's always good to get a sweep, especially against JMU. I think we were 0-4 against them coming in. So as far as the fool's gold, I know I had some harsh words for the team after the LSU game, but I still don't know. I think that I don't ever want anybody to think that I'm like a pessimist or I want our team to do bad. I want nothing more than for us to be good, and obviously for the kids. But we, like I said the other day, last few years we had the players to kind of help us, bridge that gap whenever we were trying to figure out what we were doing with the lineup. And as y'all were just talking about, it's the veterans now that are finally starting to step up and do some things that are making it easier on the freshmen. So if we could keep on doing that and we could get the same type of pitching performances that we had today and Friday, I think we could be okay. Now, do I think that we are a regional team right now? Hell no. But could we make some noise in the conference? Hell yeah. I mean, like we're watching Southern Miss and South Al right now. If Southern Miss loses, we're tied for first in the conference. I would have never thought that just on Wednesday. It's just funny how a couple games changed that. But, if we can navigate through the conference schedule, take 2 out of 3 here and there, I think, we could possibly make some noise, but we still got a long ways to go. But I'm very, very happy, obviously, about this weekend.
I mean, I didn't expect us to sweep. I don't know if you did, but after watching ourselves getting our ass kicked this weekend, Lane, is it still tied? Or maybe RC UC?
Yeah, it's going to the 12th. It's going to the 12th.
They're going to the 12th now. It's still tied 7-7.
And look, the fact that we're even having that conversation at this point is great, but we got to do something with it. And I think that's what I'm looking for. The point that I think we all need to just remember is that all we need to do is what? Win 2 games in the conference. If we get seeded where we should be in the top 3 or 4, we only got to win a couple games to be in the running to win the whole tournament. And I think that's that at this point we need to stop thinking about at large, RC. If do you agree or disagree? Because we got to win the tournament.
No, at large is out the window 3 weeks ago.
Unless we win out, dude. If we win out, then definitely we're gonna be in that conversation. But
yeah,
our quad one,
of course,
and 2 wins are still 2.
Whenever you get swept by Irvine, you could have won the Dallas Baptist series. If you take 1 or 2 of those, maybe
I think we're having a different conversation. 100%.
But no, unless we go on some kind of run like we did last year, where we win, 15 or 16 games in a row, I think that's what we shouldn't even be talking about. That we need to play for seeding, like you said, in the tournament, and navigate our way through there. But at large, hell no.
And Josh, I agree with him. I mean, do you not? Like, we had an opportunity, but we had to win a couple more games. I mean, you're looking at, when they look at what regionals, they're looking at your overall record, RPI, but then they look at quad 1 wins and losses. I think we needed to win 2 more games in that quad 1. And look, we still have Southern Miss coming up, so things could happen. But at this point of the season, I feel like we missed an opportunity to win 1 out of 2 against, 2 out of 3 against DBU would have been a huge statement. And then 1 on the road at UC Irvine would have probably got us in that thought process at this point. But I think we just lost too many games against quad 1 at this point of the season. Your thoughts?
That's the biggest thing. You couldn't get 1 on the road at Irvine. That's the biggest loss. And like Ryan said, we had an opportunity to scratch another one against DBU, and it was at home, so that hurts us. Our quad 1 and 2 record to this point is not good enough. I know that we have a good strength of schedule. That's great. You still got to win some of those games. And based on what I'm seeing out of the Sun Belt this year in 2025, I'm sure they're a top RPI conference, top 5 RPI conference. So, and freaking Nebraska's not doing us any favors because they just turned into ass like overnight. So I don't know. I think that the goal now is to win the tournament. We should build that way. And honestly, I think it serves us better to see the end of this season as a building opportunity because it's very clear to all of us watching the game, the young guys are going to carry us. And as soon as they start stepping up into roles that are vet roles, as soon as they can handle that, and I think they're closer than not, I think that's when we're going to start to take off as a team.
I think my concern, though, is, and RC, correct me if you think I'm wrong, or Josh or Jerry or anybody here, my concern is, yes, this is not a rebuilding, but kind of a reloading, and you could still make the tournament, but we don't know. We got a lot of young guys on the team. Do we hang on to those young guys on the team? Because we've been very fortunate. Let's be honest. We've been very fortunate. We've not lost a lot of impact guys. I mean, outside of Debo, Rocco. I mean, you know, we've had some impact guys, but it's not like we had a whole roster turnover like they had in softball. I'm concerned that guys like Simo are going to see opportunities elsewhere and say, I can go to Texas. I can improve my draft stock and get drafted next year just by one season. That's where my concern is, guys, is not the fact that we have a lot of young guys, because I get that, but this ain't the 2019 teams where you have a lot of young guys where you're going to be rebuilding with. You got a lot of young guys that could possibly say, screw this. I'm going to get more playing time. I'm going to get more, eyes on me elsewhere. That's where I'm concerned. RC, am I wrong there?
Well, I think that's just the way it is with college sports in general now, with the NIL stuff. But I think the thing with baseball that's different, from basketball or football, so many rounds of the draft, you got so much hidden gems and talent that play at, the so-called smaller schools, where we sit down there, there's probably 5 to 10 scouts every Friday night, so they know. I don't think you have to play at a Texas. Now, will it help you? Maybe. I don't know. But, Simo wants to go back home and pitch. That's what he's going to do. You can't really stop him. But I don't think baseball is the same as basketball and football now. With the scholarship limits that they're going to put on, it could change a little bit. The NIL is always, kind of has that revolving door. But I really don't know. I think that we have enough talent in the area. LSU's they're obviously a powerhouse and they're recruiting nationally. They don't have a lot of local guys anymore. So if we could keep on picking up these guys and holding on to them for a couple of years, I think we'll be all right. Because this class right here, this young freshman class, if they stay here 2 years, year 3, I think they're going to be some monsters like Owen Galt, especially Brooks. I think that if they stick around, I think we have a chance to be good. But whether or not they do, I don't know. But also, like we were talking about, how it's a special place to play. Everybody loves playing in Lafayette. They might just want to stick around because we care about baseball. It's just a little different. So,
look, I'm just telling you, I got a bunch of Houston area player parents coming over from a crawfish boil. Some of them are watching right now. So, look, you don't get that if your boys leave. So help us keep it. And to talk to kind of go off of that too. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but it reminds me, today, looking up at the JMU fans. Yep.
I know Josh hates 7th inning stretch, but every single fan base that comes over here, especially on a Friday night, everybody has their phones out. Everybody's videoing, dancing, and singing. It's just a completely different place to play, and I think our players appreciate that.
Josh, he's right.
They do. No,
he's right.
I'm agreeing. The Marcos were saying that the reason why Drew wanted to play here is purely to play in front of this fan base, and to be in this town to play, and that's a big deal because he chose us over A&M, Texas A&M. That's a big deal. I mean, that says a lot, and I know A&M has a rich history and they're playing a nice park and everything. It's just not the same. This is a unique environment. It's just different.
RC, we got to move on because I've been talking about baseball long enough, and we do have to, some people have lives. I don't. I'm going to go drink myself to sleep later. But any final thoughts? Any thoughts of Coach Q, by the way, tonight getting to the Final Four? How about that, buddy?
I already got got some people asking if they want to go to Texas this weekend, so we might have to scoop you up on the way to San Antonio.
I'm here, brother. I'm here. In fact, you can come in the night before. You can stay here. I'll smoke a brisket. Then we'll head on. I'll press my little autopilot on my Tesla. But I shouldn't say that too loud because they're getting blown up. But anyway, I'll press the little autopilot button. We'll go down to San Antonio and have a good time, bro. I'm not scared. I'm kind of joking, but I'm literally considering going to watch it because it's like a couple hours down the road, and it could be an easy trip. So that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I tried dragging Joe along, but he said he has to work next weekend, so that's out the window. But we'll try to figure something out.
All right, man. Well, appreciate you calling in, brother. Hang in there, and if you have anything else, call back.
Yeah.
And
to
Ryan's point about
ahead,
SEMO
Josh.
in Texas, the importance of making the tournament is to keep guys like Chase Morgan on the squad, because yes, a guy like that will pitch professionally needs to be seen. He doesn't need to be recruited and scouted every day and every time he goes out, but when you put him in a postseason environment and he's pitching against the Texas or Miami, those are the things that the draft guys really pay attention to. So if we can find a way to make a tournament with this roster, it will be Deg's most impressive coaching performance as far as I'm concerned, based on injuries, based on the youth, and then all the things we've had to deal with. But it's imperative to get these guys on television in a national situation so that they can be looked at and they can say, I'm going to play at Louisiana, and it doesn't matter if they're in the Sun Belt Conference. I'm going to be seen because we're going to play the likes of Texas and on and on.
And look, there are a lot of guys on the roster that haven't gotten a whole lot of playing time either. So it's important for him to factor that in. So, yeah, I agree with you. This will be a good coaching job if we hang on to the majority of our roster. Lane, I know I queued you up for this earlier. I know we were going to go around the horn and look at Sunbelt scores. Do you have that available?
Yep.
All right, man. I'm going to put a music bed behind you. You go ahead with what's going on around the Sunbelt.
So we have Texas State and Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina took the series after a 10-3 win over Texas State today. JMU and UL, we obviously had the shutout. Marshall upset Troy today, 6-5.
Okay.
Wow.
And that's why we have a 3-way lead for second place as we
Wow. Way to go, Marshall. They're good for something.
Arkansas
Dude,
State.
That's a big upset.
That is.
Arkansas State defeated ULM to take the series 5-3. And then as of now, we have South Al and Southern Miss in the bottom of the 12th tied at 7. If Southern Miss loses, we have a 4-way tie for first place.
Incredible. Good job. Look, I had the whole music ready and everything.
So South Alabama took how many this weekend?
They took 1 so far. So
Yeah.
they're one.
So this
we're
is
the
the
only
rubber
team,
match.
we're the only team that has swept.
Correct.
So the rubber match.
Imagine
That's
that.
nice, man.
Who would have thought that at the beginning of the weekend? I mean, you would have
Well, it's
predicted
good because
Miss,
Southern-
easy sweep.
They were running away with it. I think they were 7-1 in the league before this weekend.
That's what I'm saying.
Or
They sit
6-1.
at 6. They sit at 6-2 right now.
So there you go. I mean, like, it was getting a little scary. We got to get somebody in there beating Southern. Is it in Hannesburg or is it in Mobile?
Yeah,
No, it's in Hattiesburg. Yeah.
Wow.
Even better.
Oh, by the way, going back to Texas State, we have a 9-game win streak over them.
That's
as of
crazy.
now.
In baseball? I mean, we got that in football. It's
Yeah,
insane.
we got 12 or 13 in football.
The crazy thing about Texas State is they always, like at the beginning of the season, you think they're gonna dominate, and then
Well, it's because you
then
see
they
them,
shit the bed.
it's because you see them perform well against the A&Ms, the Texases.
Right.
And they pick up wins and they
That's
split.
one thing they do, man.
And then
they do
midweek.
They do play
Yeah.
really well in midweeks, and it's always against Texas and A&M and all these other schools. You're right, Lane.
Southern Miss has 2 on with no outs in the bottom of the 12th.
Interesting.
They'll end up scratching it, man. It's
I'm
just,
sure.
but that's good for South Al for bouncing back after a couple of tough weekends, and Southern Miss need to get slapped around a little bit. Somebody's got to get up there, and maybe it's us. Who knows?
Maybe that is us. It's time, man. We did it last year, but this year will be sweet in Hattiesburg.
It's in the it's on the road.
That'd be sweet. Taking a look at our softball team, didn't have such a great showing this weekend as they lose 2 out of 3 to Coastal Carolina on the road. They had a I think it was a 4-2 lead on Friday, end up giving that away in the 7th and losing. What's that?
They had a 4-1 lead.
Oh, even better. 41 in the 7th, and then dropping that game 5-4. I think there was a 3-1 homer involved, and it just not great. Then lost again to Coastal Carolina last night, 10-8, but picked up the win today, 9-5. So the softball team coming in right at 500, 17-17 on the season, boys. Nothing else to say. We knew this would be a tough year for the ladies, and moving on from that, again, nothing really to say. This is what we expected, and we're going to give them a couple of seasons to get things together. I have full faith in Coach Allie. So before anybody comes and says we're shitting on her, no, absolutely not. Cajuns move on to face Louisiana Tech midweek, so definitely want to pick up that win, and then host Troy in the 3-game conference series this weekend as well. Track and field, I don't have the information in front of me, but I know we have we had a big weekend in track and field, and I'll let everyone in on the secret. I'm trying to get Dan McDonald on here because he knows a whole hell of a lot more than track and field than any of us combined on this show. So look forward to getting Dan on here to talk about how much improvement there has been with track and field, but several UL records broken this weekend at a meet, as well as a national record set by one of the UL track and field folks. So I'll get some information on that. We'll talk more about them, but guys, just an impressive weekend from the track and field folks as well. And like I said, I just don't know how to talk about it. And that's half of the problem. We know these guys are doing really well this season, and we don't want to take away from the fact that they're having a lot of success. But we'll get somebody who knows a whole hell of a lot more about track and field, such as Dan, on the show in the next couple of weeks to talk about how great they're doing. Because, guys, I feel like they deserve it, right? I mean, if they're doing great things in the Sun Belt and in the country and breaking personal and national and school records, we need to talk about them more, right, Josh? Yes.
Anytime somebody from UL is doing anything on a national scale, you got to highlight them, man. And I'm just glad the track and field is back because we had such a rich history here, and it kind of went dormant for a while. But they're doing great things. I did see the school records that were set. Very impressive stuff, and I can't wait to get somebody on here. You never want to get on and try to talk about something that you don't really know. You sound like an ass.
Try, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. I would rather have somebody who's knowledgeable come in here and educate all of us at the same time. So I'm looking forward to that because I know that there's been some extremely important goals that have been achieved over the last couple of years that we need to highlight. We need to.
Before we move on, I do want to shout out our sponsors. You see the new background. I'm trying to still work with live on air, so apologies for adjusting views there. But Dr. Brett Venable with Recovery Chiromed, Eat Lafayette. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Lafayette Roofing. Dude, Darren Domang. I didn't even know Darren Domang until I walked into the Stadium Club one weekend, and I'm trying to order a drink, and he's like, "Hey, Nick, what's up?" And I'm like, "Who the hell are you?" So Darren just, picked me out of a crowd and said, "What's up?" So Lafayette Roofing doing, obviously, Josh, you've talked about them so many times, but they are the authority for roofing in Lafayette. Look, I got to tell you, in Houston, there is no requirement for folks to get licensed for things like roofing. So anybody on the street, like you could walk into Texas one day and say, "Hey, I'm a roofer. Let me repair your roof." And you could do it and not face really have any problems. Like you could literally repair someone's roof. That's a little bit different in Louisiana, but again, they are the authority for roofing in Lafayette. So definitely give Darren and his team a call and thank them for supporting Rage and Review. Also, Rage and Hydration. We're going to do some kind of cross sponsorship very soon, where we're doing some great things with Planet Radio 106.7. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have some great giveaways. But Josh, I decided I'm going to do a Lanyap segment every single episode. And today's episode is sponsored by Eat Lafayette, of course, by Lafayette Travel. And one of the things I wanted to bring up today is something that You know, the Teague, I think for us all, and you guys don't even know what I'm going to bring up, so this is going to be a surprise to everyone. But the Teague is something near and dear to my heart, like very close. And one of the things that I don't want to lose as part of the mystique, as part of the culture, as part of what the Teague was, were these guys. It was the Dirty Dozen and a Half. And if you didn't know them, dude, they sat at the top of the old Teague, right where you see on our screen, if you're watching a live stream, and they had that whole row to themselves. And until the old Teague was taken down, they all had a little plaque there. And the reason it was a Dirty Dozen and a Half is because it was originally the Dirty Dozen, and then they decided they're going to do a half because all of the wives decided to join in. What's so great about it, and also so sad in the process, is we've lost so many of those folks in the Dirty Dozen and a Half. I would say there are probably 5 or 6 left out of the original, 16 or 17 people that were a part of that. But that's just another thing we cannot let go from the traditions, the mystique, everything that made the Teague what it was. And I'm going to read the names down. As you're seeing, I'm sharing an old article from the Daily Advertiser where they profiled them in the mid 2000s. But Lyle Mellington, Pete Lofton, Hat Bryan, who had passed away before this article, Miss Willana James, Carolyn B. Avenue and her husband Ronald, who are still going to the games, by the way, Roy Babb, Arthur Broussard, Bob Fournette. I know a lot of people listening or watching today didn't know Mr. Bob, but he was the reason that Robe had so much success, is because as his generous giving to the baseball program. Frank Babin, man, you want to talk about a guy who would watch every single brick that went into any facility being built and reported back on Ragin' Pagin. That was Mr. Frank Babin. I remember John Dugard telling me one day when the softball stadium that, where they were having, that was a whole drama. But anyway, they were building that, and Frank Babin, he was driving in his truck, and he passed by John Dugard, and he just looked at him and shook his head no, and just kept driving because he was pissed. Cliff Broussard, man, Mr. Cliff Broussard would always come up to the press box and say, "What's the girls' score?" And we would get so aggravated because he would always ask about softball at a baseball game. But you know what? After he passed, we missed that. So God bless you, Mr. Broussard. Bob and his wife, Barbara Gwen, man, they were there. I'm telling you, when I was announcing American Legion, very important, folks in the program that were there from day one to watch it being built. Mr. Jim Murray, TC Wiggins, and I think Mr. Joe Handy is still around. But boys, Josh, I don't know if you remember these guys. Jerry, I certainly know that you know these folks. I'll open it up to you guys, but this is something that we have to find. And I say we, whether it's the program, whether it's Rage and Review, finding sponsors to name some seats after those folks. We need to find a way to honor these people and never forget about the Dirty Dozen and a Half. And I called my brother before this episode, and I was like, I'm going to go off because this is something, things get lost. Mr. H.O. Roy, maybe one day we'll talk about who he was and why he has a gift shop. But this is something that I think is very special and has not been honored at the new Teague. So I'll start with you, Jerry, because I think you've been maybe around. Josh, you obviously you've been around since Jack, but I want to start with you, Jerry. Do you remember these folks, and how important were they to this program and the old Teague? To me, they're the OGs, and we cannot forget them.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I'm looking at this newspaper article, and it looks like it was written around 2004, 2005, which is ironic because I used to come to the games from New Orleans because my cousin was a starter on the team. So, like when I used to first come to the Teague, my first game at the Teague, I think was like the late 90s, early 2000s, around the time we went to Omaha as a kid. And I just remember those guys, like they would be the ones that would be screaming and yelling and making noise.
Take your hat off.
Yeah.
The national anthem. You didn't, because half of them were veterans, bro.
And there were And they were the original turn two. Like they were the ones that would scream turn two, and they'd all sit
and
up there.
mullet man, he'd call the umpire a mullet.
Yeah, and they'd have their, I think a few of them had their little scorecards out, taking their notes and stuff, and they all just kind of sat in that little group. And
the K's, by the way, the K's come from these guys. Mr. Frank Babin always showed his K before he hung it up. Yeah.
And I was going to ask, like last night, I didn't see the K's. So I was kind of wondering about that because he'd always, it was Mr. Frank. He'd always carry like the big packet of K's. I think he did it for a while. I don't know if he still does it now.
By the way, well, Mr. Frank passed away, but Justin Johnson, he was a bad boy. He's in this chat. He always comments on our stuff. Justin, when some of them passed away, he became a younger member of the Dirty Dozen and a Half. So it kind of continued through the old Teague. But yeah, they carried that tradition. And that's, again, something, if we're not doing it, we have to do. We cannot lose that, Jerry.
Well, it's those type of people that created the aura of the Teague. It's those type of people that led the way for a Section A or the section where the Raging Burners sit, or people like us who grew up at this stadium that still go to every game because of people like them. And I think, no, to your point, I think we have to find a way to memorialize their presence. I don't know what that would take. I know there's a few of them that have those seats up towards the top. Maybe, I don't know, do something for them because, again, when I grew up going to the Teague, there was a special aura, but there was no Section A. There was no section where the Raging Burners sat. There was no student section. It was just that
we didn't
group
have
in
the
the grandstand.
Woohoo crew for a while, by the way. Those were my peeps, the Woohoo
Right,
crew.
and we had my friends out in the old Section C, and you still had the cooking club, but there was that certain aura in the old grandstand, and they were kind of the OGs that led the way there. So no, I agree with you, Nick. I mean, if there's a way we can honor them or just remember them, I think that's very important because you never want to forget where you came from, and the Teague now it went from like this neighborhood baseball stadium back in the day to now being one of the most known baseball stadiums in the country. And it's because of people like those gentlemen you see on the screen right now.
Josh, I know I have controversial takes. I don't think anybody in the admin is going to poo-poo on me for this one. I think this is something that may have gotten overlooked through the years just because, man, we grow and we get sponsors and we monetize everything. But again, we cannot lose the roots of what made Cajuns baseball special. Were you familiar with the Dirty Dozen and a Half and just your thoughts over how maybe we can do them justice and make sure we recognize them at the new stadium?
Well, I recognize their voices, and I didn't know them personally. I just remembered the sounds of their voices, the turn two, they had so many different things that they would say throughout the course of a game, but I remember that, and it definitely added to the environment way back then, the old Teague, and like Jerry said, the grandstand had its own community. A shout out to Mr. Babin's daughter, who's our seatmate at the games. We sit next to her when we go to in 108. She sits at the top with us. So not only has she continued to tell us the stories, and we talk baseball, she still sits up there and takes score, and her daughter does as well. So it's been passed down, and it goes to show you what we always talk about is the way that you continue those legacy fans is just by continuing to make your fans feel appreciated. And no matter what it takes, the names that you see on this paper, and we've made a whole bunch more since then, we've got to find a way to keep those people not only plugged in, but recognized. And how you do that, I don't know. There's so many different things you could do. Maybe at the top of 108, you get the K signs and you put their names on each one. I don't know. Maybe something like that could happen. Or, they used to do the pork sandwiches. You remember that? They used to pass out the pork sandwiches.
Do so much. And I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, no.
So maybe the pork sandwiches, they could do like a giveaway of pork sandwiches and it'd be brought to you by the Dirty Dozen and a Half, or somehow or another we can bring back the 50-50 raffle. That definitely should come back, but make it sanctioned. I know it has to be sanctioned. I don't know, man. I appreciate these people so much because they laid the foundation of what we now appreciate so much and go and, we love Cajun baseball, and a lot of it was built when we weren't even paying attention, and these people did that for sure. So they were the original Cajun Burners. Just keep that in mind.
Oh man, let me
So-
tell you, they were relentless. Jerry, go ahead.
So wait, Mr. Frank, that's Frenchie. That was Frenchie,
Yeah,
right?
that was
Man,
Frenchie.
I
on
see. I
Raging
always
Cajuns.
knew him as Frenchie. I never knew his real name. I just knew
No.
him as Frenchie. I didn't realize because he said, yeah. To your point, Josh, he sits in a row below where I am, where Josh and Catherine sit. So no, I mean that guy's been around. He was around for a very, very long
And
time.
you better not have your cap on during the national anthem. In fact, when I was announcing that we were having the national anthem, you better already have your hat on because he was going to go tell you. In fact, there was almost a confrontation in the grandstand because Mr. Frank was going to kick somebody's ass. I mean, he must have been 70 years old, but he wasn't playing around. The guy refused to take his cap off, and he wouldn't take it off for him and said, "You're going to take your cap off." But you respected those guys because they serve for the country. They weren't messing around with you, dude.
Yeah, no, it was. I totally didn't realize that. No, that was a great man. I got the chance to meet him a couple years back. I know he had recently passed, but yeah, to Josh's point, his daughter and granddaughter are at all the games, and it's really cool to see not just them, but you see more and more people, more generations of fans be created from a group like this, and I just hope it continues. And I guess it's our job, whether we're Raging Review or just fans that go to the games, that we carry on the torch. Section 8 carries on the torch. The Burners carry on the torch. And we understand, again, it's important where you came from, and we just got to keep going. Just got to keep showing up and be the best fans we can be at the Teague.
Lane, before I give my final thoughts on this, because it will be controversial, so I'm sure the other two will chime in. I know you probably weren't around for the Dirty Dozen and a Half. You're probably 2 years old because you're young. Shut up. But your thoughts about how we can honor these folks. I like the idea with Josh, maybe, whether it's putting names on seats and getting that sponsored or putting the names on the Ks for whoever hangs that. Just your thoughts in general about these cool folks who really laid the foundation for us.
So yeah, this was obviously before my time. I want to say I was
moving
middle
on.
school,
Shut
middle
up. Go
school.
ahead.
Anyway,
Yeah, stop talking.
But no, anyway, it's really cool to see like where the start of the love for Cajuns baseball came from. And I do think it's good to honor them and everything. I know BJ and Jared, who are part of Section A, I want to say BJ's dad did the case for a while. And then they continued it after he passed. But I feel like sponsoring the case, sponsoring some sort of food, like Jerry mentioned, putting a plaque on somewhere in the stadium with all of their names and their wives listed. I think that would be a great thing to do, for sure.
Yeah, we just can't forget these folks. And look, Mr. Frank, I'm going back to Mr. Frank Babin because he was a character, man. He would, and he and Justin, who I don't know if he's still listening or watching, but Justin, I guess taught Justin how to do the books for the games, and then Justin started doing the Ks. And I mean, he was a young kid. Now he's a grown man, a coach, I believe. But Mr. Frank, graduated from doing it in the book to then doing it with an iPad. So it was kind of cool to see that all take just kind of change through the years. I did. RC said $9 pitchers. I did want to say that before we go. Look at these prices. So $12 for chairback seats, $8 for grandstand bleachers, $5 for escort tickets, whatever that is. I guess that's if you have your student ID, you get in free, $5. Concessions.
No, if you bring
prices.
a hooker to the game.
Yeah. Well, look. Robe would not tell anybody no, so if they had a pimp night, he would probably say yes, let's do it. I mean, we had an anti-abortion night at the Teague, so I would not put anything past him. Oh, God bless you, Robe. We literally had an anti-abortion night, by the way, and this woman got up and talked about how many people were having abortions on the field during the middle of the fifth inning, and we tried cutting her off, and she wouldn't stop talking. God. Which I'm not getting political one way or another, but baseball game, not the place for that. But basic concession prices: hot dogs $2.50, nachos. I think that says $3.50. Why would you pay more for nachos? Anyway, the point is it's $3.50. Popcorn $2 or $3. Bro, Mr. Vic's Peanuts, $2. Beer, $3.50, $5, and $9 pitchers. $9 for a pitcher of beer. And this is post-College World Series. Are you
think we
kidding
were
me?
wild last night? $9
Is this
pitchers would have been a
inflation,
whole
or
other
is
level.
this like, yeah, right? Could you imagine you guys with $9 pitchers? Back in the day, soft drinks, $1.50, $2, $3.25 for the biggest drink. I mean, yeah, man, we got to find a way to make it more affordable. Again, and like you said, Josh, so many years ago, I think a couple years ago, 3 years ago, we were talking about it. You get them in the gate, you make it cheap to get in, and then you charge the prices. Or you charge expensive prices to get in, and then it's cheap in the gate. But you can't have both. And that's a whole nother topic. I don't want to get into that because we're running up on an hour 45, but you said it, man. Like, you choose one or the other. It's going to cost you to get in, or going to cost you, but you can't have both expensive concessions and expensive tickets. It's not going to work.
These people don't know how to make money, and they don't listen to anybody else. But don't get me started.
They know better than all of us. Boys, it has been a lot of fun. I'm going to take us out with a little bit of Jamie Bergeron, but before we do that, I do want to give you all an opportunity to say goodnight. So, Jerry, we'll start with you. Any final thoughts before we go?
Great weekend, big opportunity to make a run. Again, we've got 6 straight home games coming up before heading on the road. So let's get the win, and let's get some wins this week, starting with Northwestern State on Tuesday. I'm only focused on Northwestern on Tuesday. Get that win, and then focus on Tech, and let's keep it going.
Lane, final thoughts.
It was good to get a sweep this week, and looking forward to the 5-game week coming up.
Josh, anything you got left?
Shout out to everybody that I was able to meet, parents, players, new fans. I had a great time meeting everybody this weekend. Don't get too caught up on results here in the next couple of weeks. Let's just go out and get better. Let's just keep building this thing. I think by the time we get to around June, we're going to be okay. And also, we need to start highlighting these burners a little bit more. So maybe we can do a burner of the week post. Maybe that could be a segment.
Maybe we'll get them on with a mask or something. That'd be fun.
We had a burner of 7 million impressions on one tweet this week. So these guys are doing work. We need to recognize them, and we need to continue to coalition build. Section A, Rage and Review, Rage and Burners, everybody who's willing to pull the wagon in the same direction. We got to be doing it together.
By the way, I gotta brag. I know I didn't get the 6.5 million impressions, but Antonio Brown does follow me on Twitter. I feel like that's a feather in my cap, and he did share it after I asked him to. So who's your boy, Burners? Gotta thank once again Dr. Brett Venable at Recovery Chiromed, Eat Lafayette, Lafayette Roofing, and Darren Domingue, almost called them Dr. Darren Domingue, and Rage and Hydration, fantastic sponsors of the Rage and Review. Again, not podcast. We'll call it Rage and Review Media. Like, share, subscribe, tell your folks. For Jerry, for Josh, for Elaine, I am Nicholas. Until next time, you have a wonderful rest of your day. And of course, as always, go Cajuns.